So, this is how founders can drive their own acquisition process. And a little bit about me for those that may not know me. I'm Andrew Gazdecki. I've helped thousands of founders get acquired through acquire.com. At this point, I believe we've helped over 2,000 founders get acquired, which is pretty awesome. And this has been through every single continent. So, every continent except Antarctica, we do transactions in North America and Europe and South America and everywhere else in between. And then before acquire.com, I had personally built and sold different companies of my own. One of them was a company called Business Apps. It was a mobile app platform that I bootstrapped to about 10 million annual recurring revenue. Sold that to a private equity firm, which was a big reason why I started acquire.com. Going through that process was confusing and finding the buyer was really difficult. I didn't really feel there was really think anything built for founders to help them get acquired, specifically bootstrap founders. So what I do now is I help founders exit smoothly with the right buyers. And today I'm going to show you how to increase buyer interest in a week and turn that interest into offers on acquire.com. So diving in, the reality check. It's really important to know that listings do not sell themselves. A lot of founders I meet think that if they list and they wait for offers, that's what's going to help them get acquired. And in reality, the opposite is what you need to do because buyers on Acquire, they are busy. They're usually looking at multiple different businesses, sometimes dozens per day. And so they do expect follow up. They do expect you to reach out to them, to point out the materials that they should be checking out, really point out why your startup is awesome, why should they care, what's important about it, how is the process moving along, things that are going to get them excited. So your job is to show proof and get them excited. Once Acquire.com connects you with these buyers, we bring the buyers and we close the deal together. Selling your startup is essentially high ticket B2B sales. You can think of it like enterprise sales. And there's a process to sales. I know sales isn't the forte of many founders, and that's completely okay. What you're going to need, though, is some outreach. You're going to need to follow up. You're going to need objection handling and then closing techniques. Closing techniques. And again, Acquire connects you with thousands of potential buyers. So understanding that you're going to have a very highly sophisticated pool of buyers and understanding why are they interested in your startup and leveraging that to move the deal forward is going to be critical. And it's easy to think about an acquisition process when you look at it like a sales funnel. So in a typical sales funnel at the top, you'd have emails sent, demos booked, uh, follow up, first follow up, invoice sent, and then contract signed, something like that. And an acquisition process is no different. So at the top, you're going to have lots of NDA signed. This is buyers showing initial interest. And then from that, you're probably going to see 10% of that convert into a booked buyer call. Then you're going to follow up and then you're going to receive an offer and then an LOI signed. But I think the key thing to point out here is the more you put down this funnel, the more you're going to get. The more offers, the better offers, the more follow ups you send, and everything else in between. So moving people down this funnel is absolutely critical because again, not every buyer is going to absolutely get why they should acquire this business right off the bat, and it's your job to really point that out for them and get them excited about your business. From the buyer's point of view, so buyers are typically asking a number of different questions, but really they're trying to answer: Are these numbers real? Why should I care now? Can I operate it? And then what's the upside? The bottom one is extremely important because that's essentially them asking, what is this opportunity and how much potential return can I see from this business? So, as a founder, you're going to know a lot of things, such as this is some opportunity within the business. Here's some things I did in marketing that didn't work out, but a new buyer could potentially capitalize on these things. And really, just putting all this together in an easy to digest format can make everything easier in the acquisition process. In terms of the buyer pool that acquire.com brings you, we instantly connect you with thousands of active buyers. The next step from there is going to be follow up, adding engagement, leading to more offers and better leverage. When you have more than one offer, that gives you so much leverage in the final process of the acquisition. And that can drive up your valuation by quite a bit. And I've seen it more and more times than I can count. And great founders use acquire.com to turn demand into deal flow. So here's a bit of the playbook overview. So once you go live on acquire.com, you typically will get connected with 20 to 30, sometimes as high as 100 different buyers, usually within the first week or two. And then from there, proactively reaching out to these buyers is going to be critical. Because again, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, they may be signing a dozen NDAs in a week. And so if you're able to stand out from the other businesses they're looking at, the better. So you're going to want to craft your first message. You're going to want to follow up with value. You're going to want to create urgency with offers and then close like a pro. And there's a lot of similarities with any sales process that you've ran, whether you're selling a product that's $100 a month or $10,000 a year, or whatever the sales process is. You're going to want to follow up in ways that doesn't seem pushy or annoying. You're going to want to find ways to add value and continue to teach buyers the parts of your business that you really want them to know. And then when you finally receive an offer, that is a great time to follow up with all buyers again and let them know that you've received an offer, you're highly considering it, and this would be a great time for them to submit an offer if they don't want to lose out on the deal. And then if you've done everything correctly, you're going to have multiple different offers to look at, and that's going to put you in the best position in terms of valuation and terms, and then also closing with the buyer that you feel most confident about as well. On the buyer list, when you list on acquire.com, our buyers include past acquirers in your niche, strategic partners, private equity firms, experienced operators, and everybody in between. And so this is a great way to get almost immediate exposure to potential acquirers that are going to be a perfect fit for your business. And this is going to be all inside the Acquire platform. What's powerful about this is you're going to have buyers approaching you with different reasons for wanting to buy your startup. If it's a past acquire in your niche, maybe they're doing a roll up of the industry. If it's a strategic partner or a potential competitor, maybe they're looking to consolidate the industry. If it's private equity, they're going to be more of a financial buyer. They're going to be looking to see a return, usually on the cash flow of the business. If it's an experienced operator, maybe they have expertise or they're just generally excited about your industry. They're going to have different reasons to buying the business and then things that they're going to be focusing on as well. This is important to know and understand because the more you can put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, the better. For example, if it's a strategic partner that's in a similar niche, maybe they're looking to expand into the types of customers that you serve. And the more that you're able to talk about that or follow up with them in a personalized way to get them excited about that point, the more they're going to be interested in potentially acquiring your startup. For a private equity firm, they're going to be mostly interested in the financials of your business. And so being able to point out your growth rate, your profitability, these are going to be really great ways to add value to the conversations with these different types of buyers. And so here's kind of an overview of how I like to think of each step of the acquisition stage when you're going towards that offer. So initially, you're going to do outreach. So imagine you go live on acquire.com, you have 50 different buyers that have signed NDAs. I always say as soon as they sign an NDA, you want to respond to them as quickly as possible. There's actually some stats that say every hour that you wait with a warm lead that comes in, it goes colder and colder. And the same is true for buyers and acquisitions as well. So you want to quickly reach out to them and give them a personalized introduction of yourself, give them a little bit of proof of your business. For example, this could say, "Hey, Steve, Andrew from acquire.com here. I just want to let you know that August was one of our best months in our company's history. Here's a quick video outlining how the product works and the opportunity if you have 5 minutes. Here's my calendar to schedule a meeting with me." And my main goal of this initial outreach is to schedule a meeting. I'm not trying to completely sell them on the business. I'm not trying to pack a ton of things into this initial message. I'm just trying to let them know that thanks for reaching out. Here's some information I'd love for you to view. I'm just going to add a link to this one video where maybe I walk through the product, I walk through the data room, I give them an overview of the opportunity, why am I selling, and then a link to my calendar meeting, which makes it really easy for them to schedule. Maybe they're on their phone. Maybe they're not looking at every single detail on the listing. So just being really, really key on those messages is going to be better. And then adding in some personalization, such as, "Hey, I noticed that you work here, or you're the founder of this company, or you acquired this company in the past." That always is huge as well. And then a few days later, if I don't hear back, I'm going to follow up and add value. And this is a big part where I see a lot of founders stop. Some founders don't send any messages at all. That's typically not something I recommend. But then also stopping at the first outreach, I don't recommend that either. I always like to say, assume every buyer is the buyer until they are not, meaning follow up with them until they literally say, I'm not interested in a startup, or they archive you. And then you can move on. You have an answer. Just like in sales, every no gets you closer to a yes. You want to have that same sort of mindset as you're selling your business. So when I follow up, I might say something like, Hey, Steve, it's Andrew again. I haven't had a chance to connect with you. I've been chatting with a number of other different buyers. Conversations are going really well. So I just wanted to see if you were interested. Here's my calendar again to find time. And I put together this document of other buyer questions in case you wanted to review it. And what I'm doing there is I'm letting them know that I'm running a process, things are moving forward, there's momentum on the acquisition, other buyers are interested. And then I'm also adding value in terms of a new document. And this could be something like, Hey, Steve, I just wanted to let you know we were featured in this publication this week. Or I was on this podcast and it's a really good interview. I thought I'd share it with you to check it out. Or have you seen our Stripe metrics? We just connected those, check those out. And then after every message, here's my calendar to schedule a meeting. Because that's all I'm trying to do right now. I'm just trying to get to know this buyer. I'm trying to connect with them and then schedule a meeting. And then if everything is going really well, this is going to be the part where ideally you've received an offer. So I'm looking at step 3. And then from here, I'm going to want to let buyers know that I've received an offer. Hey, Steve, I haven't heard back from you. We did receive an offer from another buyer. I'm now letting other buyers know that we're reviewing this and taking it seriously. If you'd like us to consider an offer from you, please submit it and we'll take a look. And then closing would be scheduling another meeting with the buyer, asking them questions such as what is their due diligence schedule, meaning what is the plan that they have for due diligence? How do they plan on financing this acquisition? And then outlining the timeline, signing that, and then moving into due diligence. Now, this was quite a bit, so I hope that was helpful. But if you have any questions on what I could expand based on what I just said, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm happy to answer those. But going more into the first part of this, so I'll try to go back a bit and give a bit more detail on each step. But crafting the first message, what not to do, and I see this a lot too, is where founders just say, "Hey, I'm interested," or "Hey, are you interested?" or "Hey, here's my calendar." You want to do more than that. You want to outline reasons for the buyer to get excited. So you can personalize. Saw you built X. Lead with a hook. We just hit 100,000 in monthly recurring revenue at 80% margins. Include quick proof, a Loom demo, 3 sentence metrics. There's so much you can do in this initial message, and it doesn't need to be really long, just enough to get the buyer excited, point out some things that you're really proud about within the business, some pieces of information if they'd like to learn more, and then a quick way to schedule a meeting with you as well. In terms of a template, this is one that can work with really any sort of startup is hey, name, we built product now at XYZ metric. I think it's a strong fit for your portfolio because insert the reason there. Here's a 90-second walkthrough with your link. And then here's my calendar to find time to meet. Would love to connect. And it's really short. It's to the point. It's nothing fancy or something that would take you a long time to write. But again, you're packing a lot of value in here. You're personalizing the message. You're giving them a reason on why you think it's a fit. You're sharing metrics that you're really proud about. You're including a 90-second walkthrough and then an easy way to schedule time. Now, if you don't hear back after this message, send a follow up. And here's an example of a first follow up message I'd recommend sending, such as just wanted to follow up and let you know we've uploaded a document with a few other questions from buyers. You can view this in our data room. Here's a quick walkthrough of all the docs we've uploaded. This is a secondary video that I like to include as well. And the reason I like the secondary video is this is essentially a quick Loom that you can record where you're just screenshotting the data room and you're saying, hey, this is my P&L that I put together. This is a document outlining the transition that I'm comfortable doing. This video is the product demo video, and it could be 60, 90 seconds. But what you're doing in this quick video is, let's say the buyer just has time to look at that one video, and then they see all these different documents and what's behind them. That's a great way to get them to spend more time learning about your business And the more time they spend learning about your business, the more invested they're going to be, and the higher chances they're going to want to do the bottom part, which is scheduling a meeting with you. Because again, thinking about this like a funnel, buyers come in, signing an NDA. Your job is to move them down the funnel, and the next step is going to be scheduling a meeting and getting them closer towards an offer. And it always starts with meeting you. It's very, very rare in my experience where I see an acquisition where the buyer doesn't meet the founder and just blindly submits an offer. I think if you have that perspective, you'll follow up much more and try to add a lot more value within these follow ups, because buyers are again busy, and if they're looking at multiple different businesses and they can't really tell which one's the best fit for them, and you just make it so easy and you're so willing to talk, this also brings buyers' guards down too, because they want to know that this is a real business, it's not a scam, they're not going to waste their time. And by you being so open and guiding them towards information just makes the process so much better. And then here's another second follow up template. So, assuming I haven't heard back from the buyer as well, it is perfectly okay to continue following up with buyers. And again, in sales, I would always tell my sales team every no gets you closer to a yes. So, even when buyers say, I'm not interested and, please stop messaging me, which is part of the job when you're in sales, that gets you closer to a yes because you can stop spending time messaging that person and following up with that person. So in this follow up, I say, hey there, July was one of our best months. We also received some press, which you can view here. Also, check out these testimonials. So this is where you're just adding more value, more awesome things for the buyer to check out, and then making it really, really easy for them to schedule a meeting with you by always including that calendar link. That is absolutely crucial. And there is a cool feature on Acquire where we do have an autoresponder. So anytime a buyer signs an NDA with you, that first message will automatically be sent to every buyer. So whether it's at 2 a.m. in the night, or on a Saturday, or just when you're not working, you're still able to get that first message off quickly. So I highly recommend that as well. Follow up philosophy: buyers are busy, persistent beats perfect timing. Follow ups should be regular every 3 to 4 days. You want to pack as much value into these as well: new info, milestones, docs, looms, including your calendar link, anything that you think would be relevant or good for a buyer to see, include those in a follow up. And you could spread them out too. You may have a data room with 10 different docs in them. Each one of those can be a potential follow up. Don't assume that buyers have seen every piece of documentation that you've created if you haven't spoken with them and you haven't scheduled a meeting with them. Always keep your follow ups short and clear. They don't need to be a whole book, 1 page long. You really just need 4, 5, 6 sentences, just enough to get your message across, short, clear, and concise. Follow up examples: uploaded a new product demo here. We just crossed X milestone, added 3 customer testimonials. Here's our 3 month retention chart. All of this just screams like this is a good business. This is a deal that's not going to be here forever. We have all of our materials together. We're moving things along. There is momentum here. And the more you're able to show that, the better. Docs that answer the next 5 questions. Every buyer asks, what support will I get post sale? I was talking with a founder earlier this week, and he was telling me about how he had almost no interest from buyers until he changed one thing on his listing. He included more information about what he's willing to do post sale. What I mean by that is he outlined how much time he's willing to spend on transition services. And it was something along the lines of willing to provide 2, 3 months of transition support, working no more than 10 hours per week. If more than 10 hours per week, needs to be paid X amount per hour. More than willing to provide longer post sale support at XYZ amount per hour. And the purpose of this is it dramatically de-risks the acquisition, because a lot of buyers are wondering, if I didn't build this software, how am I going to maintain and support this post close? Or what if I acquire this and then the whole business falls apart once the transaction closes? And being able to address that head on by saying, I want this to be successful. Here's all the support I'm going to be providing post sale. And then if you'd like me to uh, build a new feature or add in another component of this business, this is the cost that I'm willing to do it at. That also can lead to successful acquisitions, which I've seen a number of times as well. because a lot of buyers may love what you're doing, but they want the product to be positioned towards a different customer. Or one example would be, maybe it's I'm going to make this up, but a form builder, and the buyer wants it so it's just like Typeform or something like that. And being able to transition the whole business over in that direction at a cost can dramatically increase the just amount of types of buyers that could be interested, because you're catering to what they're looking to do, and just being open to adjust the business and provide support on that level can make all the difference. And it can make a great follow up too. You can say, hey, we haven't had a chance to talk about this, but I wanted to share this document that was requested by another buyer. I'm just outlining what I'm willing to provide post sale. My goal here is to make this acquisition really successful. So too long didn't read. I'm willing to provide 2-3 months transition support to make sure that you have everything you need and can take this farther than I was able to do. Just something like that. You just hit on everything. You addressed a buyer concern. You have a great follow up, and you will definitely move some buyers towards that initial call, and that could lead to a meeting and so on. But moving back to the questions, how do you handle customer service? What's the next growth lever? How passive is this really? Definitely outline all of these common questions that buyers are going to have, and think of these as objections in your sales process. So these are common. This isn't everything that you're going to see from buyers, but every buyer would love to know, what are the answers to these questions? Can I find the answer easily? And this is an objection that you're essentially rebuttaling before it's even asked, such as, what's the next growth lever? Is there one? Where is the opportunity for me as a buyer? Is it because you've never ran paid ads? Is it because churn's really high? Is it because growth is flatlined? Whatever the issue may be, you may have some insight into what could be done to address that. And a new buyer may be thinking, I have a lot of experience in paid ads. I have a lot of experience in reducing churn. So addressing that head on and giving them opportunity that could be viewed as the next growth lever is huge. And then in terms of the how do you handle customer service, this would be documenting your SOPs and your processes and really making it easy to understand as a new buyer. How am I going to immediately start operating this business? And are there any blind spots that I'm not going to be able to handle as a new buyer? And here's a real story. We see this probably every single week at Acquire, where there's a listing where there's not a lot of serious buyer interest, and it completely turns the other way just by making a few simple changes. This example is a B2B SaaS. It was at 130,000 monthly recurring revenue. I would say I've probably seen the situation well over 50 to 100 times. The problem is the seller had no data room, got no bites. Buyers aren't necessarily thrilled to jump on this listing because it's a great product, but there just isn't enough information there. And so the seller, they added docs after speaking with us, followed up with everyone who had signed NDAs. And the simple follow up was, hey, I wanted to share that I've uploaded these key pieces of information. I'm also interested in speaking with anyone that's got questions about the business. Here's my calendar to schedule time. Just making themselves more available and more approachable, and just making that first step with buyers instantly resulted in 10 buyer calls, 2 LOIs, and they closed in 28 days. Again, we hear this story all the time. When you sell your business, you need to be proactive and you need to run a sales process. And the lesson here is momentum comes from your follow up. So if there are buyers where maybe they've signed an NDA and you haven't heard from them, that doesn't mean they're not interested. That just means they haven't told you they're not interested yet. And so you want to get to that point, whether they move towards a meeting or an offer or telling you that they're not interested. So always feel free to follow up, add value, and give them reasons to get excited about your business. And use every asset you have. These can all be separate follow ups where you share a short Loom video, a quick why I'm selling letter, screenshots of key metrics, or you can also connect your metrics on Acquire, customer testimonials, a transition plan outline. Each of these could be different follow ups. Hey, Steve, I wanted to share this quick product demo I recorded over Loom. Check it out. I go into what customers really love about my business and what part of the product I think could be improved, as well as some ideas I've always had, um, something like that. Quick why I'm selling letter outlining, you know, you've started working on another business. You just want to cash in your chips. Really, a good reason on why you're selling, because that's a question every single buyer is going to be asking you. Screenshots of key metrics. Hey, Steve, I just want to let you know last month was a great month. We reduced churn by 20%. So I uploaded new screenshots showing those. Let me know if you have any questions. Here's my calendar. Same with customer testimonial. I think you get the idea, but this is great information to keep momentum with buyers and give you a reason to continue following up with them and add value each time. So handling early interest, here's some key things. Respond fast, offer the next step, want to schedule a call, send them something right away that builds trust. I think speed is really important here. I think it can be a sign, and this is just like when you're buying any sort of product. You can think of any company that you've worked with where maybe you request more information and then you get that information a few days later or a week later, but you reached out to three different companies for a similar product or service. One company gets back to you within the hour and the other one's really slow. You're probably going to go with the one that's quicker because it's a good early test of what's to come. So the faster you can respond, offer next steps, add value immediately, the better off you're going to be. Some interest to first offer, how to ask for an offer. To kind of just give you a good plan right here, just ask buyers for an offer. This is some advice I give to founders all the time as well. And I think a lot are surprised when they hear this. There's no real special way to ask for an offer. You can do it in a way such as based on what you've seen so far, are you ready to put in an offer? What else do you need to submit an LOI? We're moving with serious buyers. Do you want in? What hesitations do you have before moving to an offer? The key here is to ask directly, remove the friction, and give next steps. My favorite ones are going to be the second one and the fourth one. What else do you need to submit an LOI? Because this will give you insights beyond a yes or no. Meaning, no, I'm not ready to submit an LOI because I haven't seen this. I think your evaluation's too high. This isn't going to be a fit for me. It gives you an opportunity to address some concerns that a buyer may not openly bring up. And the fourth one is a more direct way. What hesitations do you have before moving to an offer? I'm not there yet. I think this is out of my price range. I'm unsure of the product quality. I talked to a customer and or I used the product and I wasn't thrilled about it. The numbers don't add up to me. Whatever it is, it gives you an opportunity to have that conversation with the buyer. Okay, you mentioned the product didn't feel put together. What about it? What about the numbers don't add up? Whatever it may be, the buyer will tell you, and you can have that conversation directly to move closer to an offer. Sometimes, if you have a really good conversation with the buyer, you can just end the call with, based on this conversation, what are your chances of submitting an offer? Just so I have it as feedback. Where would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 is, just so I know? That's a very polite way to ask, but again, if you don't ask, then I wouldn't expect offers. You need to be asking for these sort of things. Just like in sales, you need to be asking for the sale. You need to be asking the customer if they would like to purchase the product. That's absolutely critical. If you don't ask for the sale, you likely won't get it. Now, leveraging offers. When you receive an LOI, you want to inform other buyers. And the reason for this is you obviously can't sell your business to more than one buyer. So you want to give them an opportunity to submit an offer before you begin moving forward with another buyer. One way to say this is we've received a strong offer and we are reviewing. If you're interested, now's the time to submit an offer or an LOI. And what this does is it creates urgency because now buyers don't have all the time in the world. They can't spend a month reviewing all the docs and going through the product and taking multiple calls from you. Now that timeline has gone from infinite to potentially just a day or maybe a couple days. You can share your timeline. We're going to review offers over the next 72 hours. I like doing that because it puts everybody on the same page and it gives you some time to receive those other offers. But this is a critical moment. There have been countless acquisitions that I've been a part of where there doesn't seem to be any offers until one buyer submits an offer and then multiple buyers submit offers as well because you now have a scarce asset where this business isn't going to be available forever. And it's also indication from another buyer who they don't know that they validated the business and also are interested as well. So this is a great way to source more offers from buyers by having one in hand and letting other buyers know that. Now, when you're receiving other offers as well, it gives you leverage to negotiate the valuation and terms up as well. For example, you're able to say things like, "Hey, Steve, I received an offer from John. His valuation is higher. I enjoyed meeting with you, and I think that you would be a better potential candidate for acquiring this business. However, if the valuation gap, I need you to match it. If so, I'll move forward with you." Something along those lines where you're able to raise the valuation or remove certain terms or add terms that are going to be more favorable to you. Creating scarcity drivers, pending LOI, limited time frame, competing interests. All things I just had mentioned are absolutely critical to an acquisition process. Someone recently asked me, what is the most important thing during an acquisition process? And my answer to that was competition. When buyers know that other buyers are interested and they know other buyers have submitted offers and it's a limited time frame and they have to essentially compete to win the deal, that is how you maximize your acquisition outcome. At the bottom, buyers act faster when they think they might lose the deal. Again, I've seen this more times than I can count. So when you receive that offer because you asked for it, because you followed up with buyers, you held meetings, you ran a sales process to sell your business, the best thing to do is go to other buyers and let them know to get them in on that process as well. Keep everyone warm. We do this all day long at Acquire as well, is when we have a founder that we're working with and they've received an offer and they're going to move forward with that buyer and there's two other buyers that submitted offers and they're not going to win the deal and be able to acquire that business, we always recommend to let them know that you really enjoyed getting to know them. You're going to move forward with another buyer. If anything happens, you'll let them know. And this is key because LOIs do fall through. They don't have a 100% chance of closing. They can fall through for one reason or another. It could be found something new due diligence, could be cold feet, it could really be anything. And so having someone as a backup also helps your existing LOI move forward because that buyer knows if they don't buy the business, there's someone right in line behind them to buy the business. And if something happens with the first buyer, you can move over to the second buyer and still close the deal. So definitely still keeps leverage in your favor. So anytime you do get an offer, it's also just good etiquette, good business etiquette. Thank buyers for submitting offers. Thank them for their time because the world is small and you never know. And again, it's good etiquette, but thank them, keep in contact with them, and understand that they could potentially buy your business if something falls through with the first buyer. So here's kind of like a 1 week action plan that I put together based on everything I talked about today. So right at the top is going to be list on acquire.com, crafting those initial messages, sending the message, add new docs plus demo. This would be a video demo. This could be an outline of your data room. And then after that is going to be follow up number one, book calls, review plus prep for next week. So this is by no means an all encompassing plan, but the idea here is to put yourself in the mindset of you're running a sales process, which involves reaching out to buyers, which involves putting together new pieces of information and valuable content for buyers to review and recording new video content to get people excited and then following up and sharing these pieces of information, then booking calls and running those sales calls and then doing it over next week until you receive an offer. And that's where you can really see the momentum being created in the acquisition process to successfully sell your business. Final mindset, no one closes from a mystery. Momentum and clarity close deals. Run the process. Don't let the process run you. Again, a big part of what I wanted to get across today was too many founders feel that you list your business, you sit back and wait, you don't need to upload docs, you don't need to follow up with buyers, you don't necessarily need to schedule meetings unless someone demands it, and then you're like, okay, I'll chat with you. Um, think of that in the perspective of if a sales rep did that. They're really, really difficult to buy from. It was really hard to get a hold of them. You had to send the first email. Their sales would be far, far, far lower. And the same is true for acquisitions. And so that's all I got. If you're ready to run your buyer process, feel free to list once, reach thousands of buyers instantly, follow up, close, and move on to your next chapter. get deal ready with support from people who've been there. This is all we do at acquire.com. We've helped, again, thousands of startups sell. So if you're interested in working with us, we're here to provide hands on support. We do a lot of this type of coaching with founders in terms of reviewing listings, making sure that you're prepared to go to market, helping you craft those initial messages. So if you'd like to get started, feel free to go to acquire.com and get started. And with that, I'm happy to answer a few questions, and I hope that was helpful. What everybody think? I'll move over to a few questions, and then since we're getting up to the 45-minute mark, we'll end it there. For the buyer pool that exists here, is there an appetite for pre-revenue organizations? Generally, it's very, very small. A lot of the buyers that we work with and a lot of the buyers in general are looking to acquire cash flowing, profitable businesses. Especially in the age of AI when it's so easy to develop software, especially, yeah, just software in general. Uh, those acquisitions are getting harder and harder and harder to come by. If we do see pre-revenue acquisitions, they're generally for very small amounts. They're in the five to $10,000 range. It's nothing typically beyond that, but we do list them on Acquire, but we are very selective. We're very picky just because interest from buyers matches that. All right, Cyrus, I'm rooting for you. Third one live. One question. I have a 51,000 monthly recurring revenue SaaS and I want to sell. Goal is 3 million. When is a good time to start working with acquire.com? I have no docs ready and need to start getting those together. Juan, I would say as soon as possible. The thing with what we do at Acquire is so at 51,000, you're at roughly 600,000 in recurring revenue. I think your asking price is reasonable, 3 million. I'd say schedule a call with us as soon as you can because we can help get you ready. That doesn't mean that we need to work together, that you need to list on Acquire. But the things that we can do now is we can give you tips on what to prepare, how to think about certain things. We can give you an idea of what the market is looking like right now and really how to get acquisition ready. So if you go to market in 3 months or 6 months, you'll be on just better footing. I had lunch with a friend who we're going to be helping get acquired um, probably early next year. And I gave him some advice that he just needed to hear. And the advice was along the lines of, he had some expenses that I think he could remove today, make the business more profitable. He had a question about a secondary brand and how to think about that when he goes to an acquisition. But that advice is things that he should be implementing now. So my hope is he improves his business, and then when he does go to sell his company, he'll be in much much better shape. And we provide that guidance completely free. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and answer this one last questions. Hey, Andrew, how do investors know if you've updated items in your listing? For this one, you got to message them and let them know. There's no notification that says, "Hey, there's new docs here," or anything like that. So just reaching out and saying, "Hey, I updated some of the materials and added these docs. Feel free to check it out." I'm attaching the doc directly here, so just follow ups. All right, everybody. Well, thanks so much for joining. I definitely appreciate it. I know some of you it's late. Because again, we have a global audience. It means a lot to me. I have the best job in the world helping founders. So if there's anything that we can do to help, feel free to shoot us an email, me directly, andrew@acquire.com, or just support at Acquire. Just we're easy to find. Appreciate you all. See everybody.